I had such a great live call today in Loosetooth Studio that I wanted to share something we were talking about there. Loosetooth Studio is my online membership community for visual thinkers. Within our virtual studio space, we have a special space for folks who are in the Agerbeck Method course. That is my big, chunky, delightful, foundational course on visual thinking. And the course is divided into 9 modules. Each module tackles one category of choices within your visual thinking. Now, the way I define visual thinking is that visual thinking is any time you're making a drawing. And as you're making a drawing, you're making countless choices. In contrast to writing and writing in lists, texts, paragraphs, when you're making your thinking more visual and spatial, you have many more choices. How do I want to capture this idea? Where do I want to put it on the page? Is it a certain color? Is it a certain size? How does that idea relate to the other ideas? So by using visual thinking, you have tons more opportunity to tackle complexity, show relationship, discover patterns that you can't do and don't necessarily do or do as easily or as clearly as you can when you make a drawing. Now, as you're making that drawing and you're making those choices, you're making meaning for yourself. One of my favorite parts of this are finding those patterns, are making those connections, are feeling those physical sensations of, oh, this drawing is messy and crunchy and I'm not there yet. Or, oh, that's it. When you feel that aha, or you feel those goosebumps, it's the best. And I do believe that when you are making that drawing, where you're making choices and making meaning, that drawing becomes your first step or your next step in making great things happen. So that is my big, beautiful definition of visual thinking. Now, you look at this piece of paper and you might think, that is too scary. There's too many choices. Now, the beauty of this is there's countless choices. You can do so many different things on this piece of paper. That is also what makes it daunting. That is why I am here. I love to teach you about these visual choices and how certain choices make certain meaning. I love sharing guiding principles that help you become far more confident and capable and just kick this piece of paper's backside. So today, the category of choices we were talking about in Loosetooth Studio is color. This is the 4th module in the Agerbeck Method course. We had a wonderful question come up. So a little bit of context here. In the 4th module, we talked 2 idea shapers. These are the 24 visual thinking techniques, concepts that are in the book and the course, and 2 of them are about color. This is about color coding. This color means, like red means this in this particular drawing. Here we're talking about organizing our ideas by color. So a little bit more color coding, organization, yeah, that's a spectrum. This other guy, which is one of my best buddies, is using color to create more depth in a drawing. And this is the trio. Now, my guiding principle is, if you know me, you've already heard this, and you can say it along with me, use color a lot versus using a lot of colors. More colors, you can use use as many colors as you like if each of those colors has meaning within the drawing. The issue is if you're not making meaningful choices, you're causing confusion to yourself or confusion for the people you're working with. So let's go into a drawing, selecting 3 colors. Each of those 3 colors has its own job. To that end, here in this diagram, or this card, you can see what each of the colors do. And I made this trio deck. So there's actually a whole deck of the exact same thing in a bunch of different colors. But let's just focus on this guy. So here is the oh, you know what? I'm going to hop on over here. Let's look at it big and bold, super clear, no glare. Woohoo. All right. There we go. Aha. So this is an example of a trio, but also kind of a guidance for the trio where you have 3 colors and you know what each color is doing. So here you can see the black, the black in the creating depth Black is the highest contrast to the white piece of paper. Anything you write or draw in black pushes forward. Anything in the lightest color is lower contrast to that piece of paper and it recedes. The dark color is somewhere in the middle. So not as forward as the black, not as receding or fading as the light color. And here I use black a lot for text or shadows, like the drop shadow on the word trio. Dark, the dark color, I might pull out categories or themes or titles in that darker color. And here with a light color, you see there's not any text. So the very important and smart question that Veronique asked today in our session was, why is trio yellow? Why is it in the lightest color? She didn't ask it that particular way, but that was what she was asking. Great question. If the guiding principle is, here's what these colors do, this is what these colors do, why is that other one in text? Why is the text drawn in that other one? So here is my answer. Now, again, these principles are guiding principles. None of this has one way things have to be done. I don't like saying rules because there are things that work better, things that are more effective and less effective. How's that? It's not entirely subjective. There are principles of design, there's principles of art, there's principles of color theory that are working. So here we're understanding how they're working so we can make those meaningful choices. Now, in this particular drawing, I'm making the main idea pretty central, not dead center, but it's sort of the anchor in the image. So the word trio is the anchor. We understand it as the biggest idea because of its placement on the page, because of its size. And here I chose to make it yellow because it is a big shape. Now, I usually say don't use the lightest color for text because of legibility. If I was to write that word trio as single lines, not block letters, if I'm drawing it for myself on a piece of paper that's no more than arm's length, no problem, right? I'm controlling what the distance is between me and my drawing. If I were to draw the word trio on a flip chart in letters, even if I were to draw this in block letters, it may not be very legible to people at a distance. So that's the caution of making that particular choice is, do you lose meaning because you just can't tell what that word is? Now, it's working here because it is, one, big, so we are using scale, a choice of scale, to show that it's a big, important main idea. We're also showing that it's big, important because of the style of lettering, which are these block letters with hatch marks shading in those shapes. Now here, what's great here is the word trio I've made the word trio out of shapes instead of lines, so it's distinct. Takes up a nice amount of space. Those letters are blocks. They're bold. They're shaded in. They're distinctly different than anything else in the drawing. That's why it works in this particular drawing. This is where I am choosing to make lettering in a light color. Love the question because she was totally right. She's like, wait, I'm following this pattern, and now you're showing me this pattern. So let's look at what that word, those 4 letters, would look like in the other colors. But first, I did want to make the distinction. I'm not likely to draw a longer word or a phrase in this kind of block letters. Why? Slow and take up a lot of space on the page. But here, because this is a 4-letter word of many glorious 4-letter words, it's a great candidate for block letters in the shading. Didn't take me a whole lot of time to draw them and shade them in. Certainly takes up a nice amount of space without taking up the whole darn canvas. So let's look at those other choices. Here we see that middle color with the word trio. This also works. Though notice, what is kind of the difference between this and this? Lightest color, medium color. They both work. I do think that this yellow color has more of a sense of breathing room. This drawing feels a little bit more expansive. Here, I feel like more of the energy of the drawing is going towards that darker word. It feels more grounded. Now, some of you watching might think, oh, this feels so good. Some of you might be thinking, oh, that's so much better. There are different ways we relate to different colors, different shapes, different everythings. I do think that here in using the darker color, this whole drawing feels more dense because it does have that darker color for those big 4 shapes that are shaded in. Now, I think you could use either of them. I love the yellow, nothing wrong with the blue, but would not recommend using the black. Why? Here I do think it's not only that it gets even heavier, here I feel like we got a whole lot of black lines competing with each other. The black lines of the words, the black outlines of those 4 letters, the black hatch marks within those 4 shapes, and the black drop shadows. So here we're giving that color black a bunch of different jobs, and it's fighting. Each of those different jobs are fighting with each other and fighting with the other lines in the page. So here you can see this isn't a choice I'd necessarily make for those reasons. Again, we're trying to make those meaningful choices to make meaning. Here I think this particular choice detracts and distracts and makes it a little bit harder, a little bit slower to figure out what is what in this drawing. So here you can see kind of side by side how each of those choices affect this particular drawing. So that is a wonderful question that Veronique asked in our session today, and that is the kind of thing you learn in the Agrabek Method course, in the community, in the book. Certainly was a pleasure demonstrating that particular principle, those choices. I hope you are well wherever you are. I hope you are making beautiful choices, beautiful meaning, and making those drawings to make your next great thing happen. Thank you so much for watching.